Alright, good evening, everybody. Time is
6:34.
6:34, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Van Barrison?
Here?
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Vogel will not be present this evening. Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Here.
And Chairman Galtieri.
Good evening. Alright, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No committee appointments tonight, so in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 231 New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the giving of notice to the Courier News, posting the agenda in the public lobby of this building 48 hours prior to this meeting, delivery of this notice to the Franklin Township Clerk at least 48 hours prior to this meeting, and mailing notice to those persons properly requesting to be mailed notification of meetings at least 48 hours prior to this meeting. Okay. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
Open.
Okay. We can do this by...
Act by voice.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing that there is no public here, is there? Seeing that there's no public here, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor of closing the meeting to public comments, say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, there is a need for another public hearing, which I would suggest you get done now.
Okay.
It is my understanding, and the executive director and the administrative manager can correct me, that we have finally heard from the state about the budget.
Yes, we have.
And since you continued the public hearing on the budget, it's now time, since apparently the state has given it the papal blessing, so to speak, that you can close the public hearing. You can open it on a continuation and then close it, and then you'll be done with having to deal with the public hearing, and then you can take the formal action later.
Okay. Do we have to do an amendment to the agenda, or can we just...
You can do it by a motion to place on the agenda for 6A, budget public hearing.
Okay. Is there a motion to amend the agenda to add the continuation of public hearing for the budget?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Van Barrison?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. All right. So now we would have to do a motion.
Now you have continuation open of a public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak about the budget of the authority for fiscal year 2019?
Okay. So we need a motion to open it, or?
It's already open.
It's open, okay. Seeing no public, is there a motion to close the public session for, regarding the fiscal year 2019 budget?
Motion.
Roll call.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari? And Chairman Galtieri.
Yes.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, that means that the budget process has been closed. There is a resolution, I believe, on the agenda for later this evening as part of Mr. Regan's report that the board will be taking an action on later. But you have now ended the continuing budget hearing.
Is this one of the longest continuing public sessions?
No, Newark holds the record with 11 months of an unapproved budget.
All right, I will I'm happy that they're not in it for the record. So, all right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes?
There are no executive session minutes tonight. They will be on the October meeting.
I do have one correction. Between the two copies of the resolution voting, in one I abstained for the 5% cap, the other one is listed as me saying yes.
Okay,
So if we can reflect that I abstained from that vote, please.
I'll do that.
Thank you. I forget which was which, but it was in one packet and not the other, so
Okay.
thank you.
It looks like it's not in the resolution packet, but I will correct that.
Any other? Okay, so two of us can vote on the meeting minutes. All right, is there a motion to approve the working session meeting minutes from August 7th?
Motion.
No, you have a second. Only those who appear can make a motion second on this. The only two eligible are the vice chair and the chair.
Okay, so roll call, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tawari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
They'll have to abstain, right?
All right.
So abstain? You need to abstain if you weren't here.
Okay, abstain.
Two people can vote for the Mr. Bennett and Mr. Galtieri.
Yes.
2 in favor, none against, motion passes.
Okay, and we said executive session we'll have for the October meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Moving right along, reports?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, so if I can bring your attention to, we'll start with my executive summary report, please. So basically, for those who were in attendance last month, we did discuss one of the projects, Rodney Avenue, in executive session. I'm happy to say today that over the last month, there's been significant positive progress made on that. In fact, such that I've moved the color from red to yellow. And I'll take you through that. So basically, we're yellow due to the improvement in Carborough's response and progress that they've made since our last executive meeting. Basically, on August 20th, I received a call from Mike, and where he informed me that him and Anthony Caruso had spoken, that was a Monday, the previous Friday, and that Mr. Caruso was interested in meeting with me to listen to his request for basically an extension. So I must admit that I was a little hesitant at first, but agreed to meet with him because I felt that it was, only fair to give him his ability to make his case. And Mike had assured me that that his conversation with him, that Anthony was very sincere in his approach. So, without certainly going into the details of it, as I say here in my in my notes, is that he explained to me the serious health issues that his wife and his daughter were facing, which kind of kept Mr. Anthony Caruso from being involved in the day-to-day running of the operations of the company. Basically, from the day that I first had my punch list meeting back here in May, I want to say it was a May date, May 21st or thereabout at that time. So he explained that he was after seeing and catching up with emails, and he was very confident in looking at the punch list that work could get done. And then he said the key phrase. He said we would complete the non-completed items without any additional costs. Now, as you recall from my meeting last month, and even before that, there were a number of items that were in contention, one being the restoration of the paint problem in the pump station, 11 Oak Brook, taking care of that lateral, and then some additional items. And Anthony had given me his word that he felt that they would be able to, again, complete those items and without any additional costs. So he said that he needed until September 6th to take care of those items. So I agreed that, okay, we would do it. And since that time, there were various days that he committed to give me a call to give me an update. And without me prodding, he made those phone calls. And today, at around 2 o'clock, I actually was in the midst of preparing my reports when he called me. What I can say is that so far he's been a man of his word. There's been significant progress made. We are in the midst, they started to clean the pump station, the paint. They were in over the weekend. That work is scheduled for this week. Additionally, 11 Oak Brook is scheduled to start work on Thursday. And the manhole, they were on some of the manholes that were in contention. They were out there today, actually. And Scott enjoyed every moment of it, when I went out there for a visual review this morning. So I actually went into the pump station. We saw the contractor in there taking care of the railings. So at this point, though the work won't be completed by September 6th, it will go into next week for sure. I could see that Anthony had made that commitment, and right now is sincere about completing the work. He told myself and Michael that he wants to complete this work, get it done, so that way we can wrap it up. And I said that assuming everything goes fine and you can do this, then we would in the October meeting hopefully be able to take care of all the voucher payments, and then be completely done by the end of October. So right now, I am very happy to say that that's the case. I didn't make it green only because because today I was out on vacation last week. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mike and to Anthony to come up with a revised date. I'm expecting that it's going to be sometime next week. There might be some holdouts where the seeding for some of the landscaping where the seeding hasn't taken place. Obviously, if you were outside today, like, trying to seed now and water it just doesn't make sense. So we talked about a couple of outliers that are minor, but the 4 areas that I was insisted on that we must have an agreed upon plan, like for the pump station, for the painting of it, I said, we already have a plan. If you choose to use a different vendor, that vendor has to be vetted by our Sherman-Williams representative. He agreed to it, and that happened. That happened before I went on vacation, a day or two. Actually, I think, the day before I left. So I really do not have any complaints about the turnabout of their ability to complete the punch list items.
So Brian, on this last month's minutes,
Yes.
on page 4 and page 5, there are 4 bullets. And the third one talks about cargo latest efficiency list update, failed to establish dates for completion. So what I'm thinking is all these are resolved in your mind?
So at this point, I do have a copy of the punch list. We're down to about 12 items, down from about, 72-ish,
Okay.
when we were talking last. So a significant amount. And a number of those items are all in progress. 11 Oak Brook, the manholes, they count for more than one punch list item. Like the manhole is probably three items. The painting, the touch up. So I will tell you, I am confident that that I believe that they're going to complete these items because so far what Anthony told me on August 20th, sitting in my office, he's executed on. That week right after was a little slow, but he did tell me it would take a week for him to gear up, and that following Monday, he had his crew, and they were out and about, and since then, they've been taking care of items. So yes, the items that I mentioned there, I believe that they're on track to complete.
Thank you.
Yeah. you know, I think what was critical to that, or part of that critical factor was, first, you know, Michael has, you know, reached out to them, but that my message was always firm and consistent, that, you know, you need to do the work and I will pay. And I think with Mike delivering that message and them seeing that, if you recall, 2 months ago, you know, they submitted a payment voucher for $160-something thousand, and I only authorized 56. And because of some paperwork issue they didn't take care of, I actually held that back. That they saw that I was firm in my resolution that we are not going to pay for incomplete or poor quality work. And I think when Anthony came back and he saw that, he recognized like the best way to move forward on this was to do the items on the list. And then we, you know, you do the items on the list, my guys say that it's done, I'll pay. It's that simple. So right now, I'm very impressed with the complete 180. I'd almost say it's a 180-degree turnabout from July. But it certainly is. You know, July, they missed the date in June. There was no action or word for 3 weeks. And then I had to reach out to them. And right now, Anthony has followed up on his word, has called me multiple times, given me updates. So, you know, overall, I'm very happy.
On the on this punch list and the payments associated with it, was there a penalty put in this time around?
So the way it works is that there's a 2% retainage cap, so we hold money for any sort of deficiencies. And then the contract itself for the specification, you know, has sections that say, listen, you can accept with deficiencies and then hold back money. But per a penalty for missing a date, no. And as I educated myself since you know, since I've started on this project, you know, it's really based upon what's in the specification in that contract law. What I was doing in delivering the message that certainly was delivered to them, you know, via Michael, was, you know, I will execute on that as we talked about options in the last executive session. I realized, you know, you had missed, and certainly I'd be glad to bring you up to speed as to what I communicated in executive session outside. But the good news is I'm not calling for an executive session tonight to talk about which option I want to execute on. It's an option, we talked about 4, of which, you know, 2 had significant issues to them. Third one was continue doing going along day to day in this kind of no man's land. And the 4th was, well, they could change their tune and we could be sitting in the dirt. And I would say if I was a betting man, I wasn't betting on that day, right? So fortunately, I am not a betting man, and because I would have lost. Anthony, Mr. Crusoe came to, and you know, and it's understandable when somebody's in a difficult family situation with that type of situation with your wife and your daughter. Your focus is totally on that and not on the business. So I appreciate his to reach out to Michael, and then I appreciated him coming into my office and sitting down face to face to say, yep, there were issues in the past, and I'm telling you that, you know, I'm going to fix them.
That's good. Good news. Thank you.
So I guess the key question also is no additional invoices have been submitted for any of the work being done.
Correct. So in that meeting on that day with Michael, I said if you get that done, we will start to settle up the process with the October meeting. Without any indication that payment would be made in September, and there was no request for a payment ask, so they didn't even attempt to submit, which is good, right?
Yeah.
All right, so again, it's yellow leaning green at this point. It's my best way to describe Rodney, which, as you all know, is the best it's been since I've arrived.
So Scott can start growing his hair back for this project. The other projects, I think you're just gonna take it right back out, but
Let's hope not.
No. All right, so then kind of moving on to the asset management plan and the GIS. I left that yellow. There are two aspects of this that have moved along very well. The asset management plan portion, that there's a detailed spreadsheet associated with it, which each of the different inventoried items, like in the pump station, and that's all very detailed. And up to speed. The staff web portal that I mentioned here, which is really the interface that allows Scott's technicians to input information on the pump station, the daily statistics, and that's moving along very well. In last month, I mentioned that, hey, we had to do some user testing regarding the interface. There was overall very good feedback, some minor tweaking that you would always expect on any interface, that was taken care of by Justin,
Jason Sayek.
Justin is Township. Jason. And the internet, we do realize that the Griggstown, for anybody who rides Canal Road, knows that, once you're at Canal near Butler in that area, getting toward Griggstown, coverage drops, and we do see that there. Not at all to do with anything with the application itself, but we also have a way that the data could be entered, and then when we get into range where we're connected to broadband or back here to Wi-Fi, that data is uploaded. So data isn't lost during those moments. So that's good.
sorry, just to quick, Scott, how have the other workers been feeling about it, interacting with it in the field? Are they feeling comfortable with it? Are they?
Yeah, I mean, just like anything else, any other new programs, the first day or two is a little more of a learning process. But the guys like it. It's actually simpler.
So what's the remaining work to do is actually for the GIS portion, for both the public facing and for the internal view. We have to schedule a meeting to work out some of those some of the clarifications. I won't say requirements, because we do have there are requirements that they're working off of, but basically that was set. That was kind of put behind getting this pump station report feature working for Scott and his team, because that really helps with the productivity and the collection of data. So we kind of did put that on the back burner. So I met with Christian this morning, and we're going to arrange a meeting with Jason and Joe to get clarification on that over the next week and a half. So that way we can hopefully by the end of September have closure on this item, but it may drag into October.
So I think I asked this at the last meeting. As far as the asset management, have we met the minimum state requirement?
Yes.
So that we can continue?
Yes.
And then also, I know with the GIS, we turned over a lot of information to the municipality. If I'm not mistaken, are we able to interact with them a little easier now, or are we still on like two different platforms that it requires some work?
So we actually met. Actually, I forgot to put that in my report on my discussion item. I did. Can I touch base when I do my?
Yeah, that's fine.
Discussion items.
It's not an urgent question. It was just
okay. All right. So that's why the color is yellow still. We just need to get closure on a couple of those items. Moving on, Marcy Street, the Marcy rehabilitation, the rehab project there is yellow again because we don't have a target date yet. CME did provide their cost estimates based upon the last meeting that Scott and I had with them, but due to my schedule, I didn't get to meet with, to arrange that meeting. I expect that to happen this month. In fact, I was talking to Joe earlier today, so we're going to schedule that meeting and hopefully bang out a schedule so that those dates, we can have target dates going into the October meeting to give you all a sense of where that's looking. So Foxwood, now we go into our green project. So the the beginning of August was a little, actually August probably was a little difficult in the sense that we were still trying to work through Rodney, and we had two other projects turn up pretty much at the same time, Foxwood and Somerset. So it was a very busy month. I must admit, I kind of made the transition into an entryway into an aspect of a career or a part of my career that I've never had, which is getting used to wearing a hard hat and a vest out in the field. Because being a software telecom guy, I never had to worry about. Even in design meetings and requirement meetings will get brutal sometimes. You never had to worry about wearing a hard hat. A book might have been thrown every now and then, but that's about it.
No stones, huh?
Pardon me?
No stones.
No.
Just the books.
So it is a very different. It's a very different feel, and actually interesting for me because each day is a new learning experience for me. Every time I go.
What is the report on plats?
I'm sorry?
What is the report on plats? Am I looking at your...
I'm still on this, I'm talking off of this, my professional report.
This one.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is kind of more my executive summary, my talking points here. I failed to mention at the beginning, the usual statement of, hey, Joe and Howard's not here. They provide their detailed reports, but I feel it's important that, again, that I be able to discuss with you each one of those status, so that way I know that I'm on top of it, so I can talk to you. If we need to go to the details of schedules, we certainly are able to do that. So relative to Foxwood got out of the gate. We actually had a pre-con meeting on Foxwood and whatever that side street was, Appleman, and Scott got mad at me because I missed a turn and I delayed the meeting because I went around. No, you didn't get mad at me. But so again, that is going very well. In the beginning, we found we have a fire hydrant that's been allocated to them so that National Water can get their water access to do their cleaning, and really that job is running very cleanly now. I've been out there a couple of times myself. With and without Scott. I try to make it a practice to get out to each of the sites, so that way first our staff knows that I'm interested and that I'm there to support them and hear any concerns that they have, but then also to show our vendors and our contractors that I'm not just somebody who's going to sit in an office, that I'll get my hands dirty if necessary. Mostly my shoes dirty, but for the most part my hands haven't gotten dirty.
You're not reaching
No. Actually, Scott won't let me go down because he says I haven't had the confined space training, so I'm not allowed to go down. And after being out there with the odor today, I'm not sure I'm really interested in going into a confined space. Certainly in August. Might think about it in November, but not August. So that project's up and running. National Water has been a very responsive contractor to date. No issues, and we're on schedule there. Let me talk about Somerset first, and then I'll go to Hamilton.
Brian, just sorry,
Sure.
before, it says here preparing to submit to the EPA
Right.
mid-September.
Yes, so spoke to Joe today. So now that we're in the midst of the construction, if you recall, we actually tried to submit that request much earlier, but they told us you can't do it until you've started the construction process of the lining, and we've done that. So I talked to Joe today, and by middle of next week, we'll have worked out the actual.
How's National feeling about the timeline? Still looking towards early?
Yeah, right. No,
next year?
everything is running on schedule, so no issues there. In the beginning, because things lined up, we were able to get a fire hydrant that's close to them for their water access, and we are allowing them to store their trucks here overnight to make their transition in the morning a lot easier. So
Okay.
right now, no roadblocks or issues there at all. Relative to Somerset, so Somerset, you may recall that work was going to start out at Hawthorne and Hamilton. There was some trench that had to be taken care of there. That's where we started. It was a little bumpy in the beginning with trying to coordinate with the township, with the DPW, and that all got worked out. But you get new folks in, the engineering firm and the contractors, and everybody's trying to get their footing set. So over the first couple of days, communication was a little rocky at times. But again, after a week, kind of slid into place here. We do have. So we ended up getting done on Hawthorne and Hamilton. Hamilton, we ran a day extra because right where our manhole went to go, when we opened it up, deep down there was a water main that the water folks knew about, but didn't know where it was. Like they knew that there was a water pipe there, but not exactly where, because it's been there for quite a while and they didn't have records. So we had to remove, had to shift that. That delayed us getting onto to Brookline by a day or two, but it worked out well because there were, I'll use the word, serious concerns presented to us about how the force main was running too close to the water mains, and we did additional test pits on that street to make sure we have a very good reading. And then when the data was all finally in, we did have to send a new, CDM had to do a new drawing, revised drawing I should say, on the line, and we had to take into account that where our line was running relative to the floor. We always had to try to maintain 5 feet distance, and it affected, in the end, as you go down further on Brookline, we actually have 2 or 3 of our manholes. We had to go to smaller manholes to ensure that distance was maintained. But right now, so that kind of all took place last week, earlier in last week. This week, we're on Brookline. They made good coverage today. They probably did 150
feet,
yeah,
140 feet
today, which was a good day. So we're no schedule issues there, but right now things look good for Brookline. So we're off of Hamilton.
For these construction projects, is the town inspector there, or do they
Yes.
frequently come, or what do they?
So, yes, the town has a guy from the water down, and I've actually spoke to Bob Lawnlocker, and he assured me they'd be there because they are, where Brookline is one of our older sections of Franklin, so there is a lot of concern about, the water pipes, the water connections. In fact, right where Scott and I were this morning, one of the laterals was galvanized. So they're concerned when they get to that point because when you put too much pressure on there, you hit it the wrong way, it's going to break. So yes, they have.
Brian, they're continuously, or do you call them?
No, they're continued on site, along with our guys. So like, CDM has their project inspector there. The water guys have theirs, and then we also have somebody there all the time. So that way, and that mostly is to ensure that any issues that do come in, they're getting escalated to the right to myself, not that it wouldn't, but also on the water side to Carl. So that way Carl and I can, after Howard does the analysis, we can kind of get resolution of it quickly instead of it getting delayed and losing time. So that process has worked well so far.
The town has allocated a resource for,
Yes.
I believe, 2 or 3 weeks dedicated just to this project.
Right.
For the neighborhood.
during all work done in the street, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's working out well.
And
Because
this is-
then everybody has their opinion on, is the right compacting being done to the level? Is it being done in a good way? And the feedback we're getting is that, yes, this contractor is a good contractor, and that's just not coming from my team. That's coming from other departments. So that's good to hear, because then the contractor, builds up trust when the township employee or a sewage authority employee sees them working in a diligent way.
And this was feedback taken from, especially from Rodney Avenue, as one of the corrective of how
Yes.
to work better.
Yes. So,
Sorry, Mike. We didn't give you that support back then, but we're trying. So Hamilton Street, we should be okay.
All sounds very good.
all right, so again, Somerset Pump Station is green. I did talk to Howard Madison of CDM. He will be attending. He had a conflict tonight, but he will be in attendance at this meeting starting October. Because I told him it's part of construction. And he didn't have any issue with it. I just said it's part of construction, but I want you here. So he will be in attendance.
So Brian, on the timeline, they're working on the laterals in the street first, and the force main.
No, force main first.
Force main.
We do that all the way down Brookline, and then we go into
Pump station.
Pump station.
Okay, that's what.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Hamilton. So last month I informed you of the fact that, hey, we've got hit with that. We got requested to have a Stage 1AB cultural resource survey, and for the commissioners who weren't here last month briefly, is like they found potentially in researching it, they said that, hey, a document or two has indicated there may be some historical site or a site of historical significance in this area. So the way they do that is they say, okay, you got to do another layer of digging, I shouldn't use digging, of researching around that to ensure that there is or there isn't. So that's what we're in. Basically, since that last meeting, since the last board meeting, I reported that Joe had done some requests. He had some estimates, cost estimates provided by 3 different firms. Myself and April looked at that and then talked to them, and then we selected a firm to perform the cultural thing. In fact, we just closed on that. Well, an ordinance is in you. You'll see it tonight as part of one of your resolutions to authorize payments for that. But we did contract with one, and that work will take roughly 5 weeks for them to do that. However, that's parallel, right? So it's parallel as long as they don't find anything significant. If they actually do find something significant, it could potentially affect our January date to go to bid. But, we're not there yet. It is what it is. Right now, we're doing what we need to do, which is have them go. As I said, I think the probability is probably a little low, given the fact that that site's been built on before, and when the church had it, and there would have been some level of analysis done. So I'm hoping.
Joe, what's the impact of, especially for all the newer commissioners, the Hamilton Street Pump Station is the last one of this project. What's the impact of, and Scott also, what's the impact of if we continue delaying the construction?
And there really be no change in the current operation of Rodney Avenue Pump Station. The flow will continue into New Brunswick on Hamilton Street just the way it is right now. The flow from Hamilton Street, once it is diverted, is a very small part of the overall capacity at Rodney Avenue. So minimal impact of any kind of delay in connection.
So essentially, this would help us cut one of the last connections. We'll still have 1 or 2 connections to New Brunswick, right?
Right.
But this is cutting off more.
It's taking 1 out of 2.
Hamilton Street will take
1. Okay. So, and we'll have 2 left.
Correct.
Just so everybody's aware.
All right.
Since this overall project predates all of us.
Yes.
It's to keep us all on the same line.
So, as far as the specification, it's heading to legal review tomorrow.
Yes. I would hope to have brung it here, but
Okay.
reproduction.
So I talked to Eric and I said, Eric, you'll have it tomorrow. So that was my commitment to him, that you will have it then.
Somerset County.
So it has turned into your
You'll have
commitment.
it Christmas, yeah.
So,
Somerset County Planning Board signed off on it by then?
We had a request in there for a waiver on the performance guarantee, which was denied. So
So that's the only thing outstanding.
we will push that to the contractor to provide that performance guarantee as part of his work on the project.
Which will reimburse anyway as part of the budget, right?
Yes.
Okay. As far as so we haven't received all the comments back from DEP yet.
That is correct.
So, but my direction was to send it to Eric anyway, because it's a huge document. If we get comments, we'll pass it on. But I didn't want to delay it going to Eric.
No, it was, I know we've gone back and forth between 2 different planning boards.
Yeah.
So I was trying to keep track of which one's finally signed off and
Right.
which is.
Okay. All right, so Hamilton at this point is still green. So that takes us through all our projects. Again, the detailed engineer reports are there. Actually, they came in because I was on vacation this week. They kind of went through straight without my review or edit of them. Usually I provide some type of feedback. But if you have any questions about that, any information in them, feel free to give me a call directly, and I will do my best to answer them and address them. All right. As far as now to, oh yeah, and then the legal, we didn't. I didn't talk about the legal aspect, but the legal report is included in Eric's report is included. Again, nothing major or significant there. And I did talk to Eric about the change of in the Rodney Avenue. And after our discussion, we both agreed there was no reason to have an executive session to really update anybody on it. For the commissioners that weren't here last week, if you really do want to sit through what I presented last month, feel free to do that, and I'll give you the update on it. But all it did was taking us through the options that I spoke very highlighted here. 4 options that we had, and right now it looks like we don't need to execute on any of the more difficult ones.
So Brian, I'm a little confused between these 2 reports. One says September 2018 Executive Summary, Professionals Report. The other one says Executive Director's Report. So that's what I was reading when you started talking.
Okay.
So
Right.
help me out.
Yeah. So the executive director's
No wonder I
report.
was talking.
Yeah. I had to name it different. So the executive director's report is the standard report that's been presented to the board, for many years, with a number of different topics, talking about the financial aspects or whatnot. I created, I think 2 months ago, the executive summary professional report, because I wanted to be able to take the engineering detailed reports of the status, the schedules, and kind of like be able to, as I would in my previous career, like if I'm talking to my board of directors, I'm not showing you an Excel spreadsheet and talking about milestones.
I got it. It's an engineering report versus financial report. Okay.
Right.
I got it.
So I mean, if there's a name to my summary report that you would like to
No,
to
I
me,
just didn't know where to look.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Okay. So now moving on to the executive director's report. You have attached all the various financial reports, the revenue, expense, and cash report that's attached. Again, if you have any questions about that, right now everything looks good from a financial point of view. And so let me kind of move quickly into, so I talked about the fact that the budget did get approved. So that's very good. It actually got approved today. I will say that that April worked extremely hard on it to get it through from the time that she was handed it. She certainly was climbing an uphill battle there because of the fact of she had to put together data she didn't have and trying to create it. And then also dealing with the report itself. It's not the most intuitive reporting mechanism, so at times it was confusing, and that caused delays because, again, not any part of issue due to April, but just because of the way it was and the first time so it's the type of, in putting together the budget, the first time you do it, it takes a lot of effort. So I am very grateful for April for doing that, because now the next time when I go to do it will be easier, because she will have experienced it. And we all both committed to taking a training class on it when they offer it. So hopefully next year we'll go through, it will be a little more streamlined. Well, in fact, I know it will, based upon the work that she did. So my thanks to April for your work on that. The audit, our audit that is our independent audit that's going on, that's ongoing, and right now that's on schedule. We'll be meeting with Andy and his team.
They will actually be returning tomorrow. They'll be here this week on Wednesday and Thursday. They did submit a list of things that they wanted to have prepared, and we are ready for their arrival tomorrow. We're fine with the general ledger, we're fine with the trial balance, our cash lead sheet is up to date, and all the documents that they want for pulling examples from the checking account, everything is all fine, we're all balanced.
Right.
So we'll have good feedback for you next time. We're way ahead of schedule.
Right. April had said that for last year, what we started in July didn't start until, the process didn't start until early September. So, we were 4 to 6 weeks jump on this year.
What was the budget that got approved? What's that number? I don't see that. Is it the $13 million?
It's actually in your in the packet. It's attached to the resolution for the adopted budget.
Okay.
So behind that, I gave you the summary sheets, and all the numbers that were plugged in, the supporting information is behind it. So you'll see the details there. And you'll be able to see on the resolution where those numbers, they were asking for the appropriations, for the revenues, for our deficits, all those things, and they're all plugged in nicely. And they were approved by Paul Ebert at the DCA. As is.
All right. As I indicated, as I updated you last month, we did have a disability. Our bookkeeper went out on a short-term disability. She has returned as of the 27th. Mostly that work in the first month was handled by April, doing double duty, and then about 3 weeks into it, we were able to hire a temp from an accounting agency firm to come here and help us. And that handoff is going to occur this week, or September 7th will be completed with that work. So again, we were very fortunate. We got someone very capable who was able to come in, take direction from April, but April also had to spend a lot of time naturally bringing somebody up to trying to make that quick.
So she'll be back full-time?
Yes, she's back full-time and without any constraints.
Okay.
Yes. So also I had told you that when I got here, one of the first things I wanted to do was kind of do a security analysis, and we had the Township Police come in the IT department. So on August 22nd, I think, 22nd or 23rd, we had our active shooter drill here. Sergeant Stein from the township came in and met with both our office staff here, but also we had all our maintenance team, Scott's technical team, brought in to do that too. So I believe the training was very beneficial. The little feedback I've received is that it was positive. So I'm glad that was done. And we're also moving forward on updating some security aspects, which I've highlighted here, but for obvious reasons I'm not going to talk about in general. So we're continuing to track these, and please know that this remains a high focus of my attention. All right. Also on here are noted. Before I forget, Chairman, you talked about meeting with the town and the sharing the data. So myself, Scott, and Christian did meet with We were scheduled to meet with Bob, but he wasn't available that day. And we ended up meeting with Mark Healy and Vince Dominack to talk about ways that we could potentially work together in a little more efficient manner. So we talked about sharing or having access to each other's systems, providing user access based upon the need. Not that everybody has access to anything, but somebody like Christian being able to get into the tax system when there's something doesn't look right about a block or a lot that we're looking in our system, and certainly having Mark and Vince having staff getting into our system. So overall, that meeting went very well. Collaborative working environment, and we committed to each other to maintain that, and if there were any issues to reach out early instead of waiting on things. So I was very happy with that meeting and the results of that meeting. So the topic of sharing data and making sure that our data was synced was approached, and we're going to be working with Justin to make sure that the data that can be shared is shared, so that way we're not having duplicate sets of data and worried about it being out of sync.
Okay. I know that one of the key things that we want to do is economic development with Mark and Vince. If you're comfortable with the information you've gotten then and your ongoing meetings, maybe we can arrange to see if they can come to one of the next board meetings, if not October, sometime before the end of the year.
Okay.
Just to do a short presentation to the commissioners of where the town's heading.
Okay.
And this way we can start planning, in addition to the extensive capital planning that you just did, if there's anything we have to keep on our radar. But this way, you're getting it directly from the town, those that are involved with economic development, versus me trying to explain it.
Okay.
I'd rather the professionals than me do it secondhand.
Yeah, I think, and Scott, keep me honest, is that they kind of talked about their plans to their revisions to the master plan is going to be more fine tuning versus significant changes.
Right.
They were going to combine some zoning like M1 and M2, like into one type of zoning that encompasses both requirements. They were just going to try to streamline the process, I think.
And they can also talk about the Davidson Avenue a little bit, economic development zone, and also anything on any updates on Hamilton, in addition to what we're working on.
Yeah, we did talk about Hamilton. There was nothing significantly happening there, and Davison really didn't talk too much about an
that was
economic
the area with the M1.
Right.
So light manufacturing to warehousing.
Right. But at a high level, they didn't see anything that would have significant impact, to it. But we also talked about the fact that they would include us in their review of their documents, and I also told them that I would commit to including them into any revisions that we're doing to one that I talked to you about previously, the development agreements, and also changes to our rate rules and regulations. So I did make that commitment to them.
Okay.
So let me understand this. This is for the current projects, this liaison that we have with town, we're talking to, is for the current projects. If they're changing their M1, M2s, do we have our drawings showing that, or our documents showing that, or what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Are we talking for the future? If we are looking for putting a main somewhere that affects the town and their plans, so what are we talking about?
Right. So good question. So the answer really is our discussions with them were not for one particular project or any of our ongoing project. It was more about, in general, in the future, what's happening. And I set this meeting up in response to Chairman Will's request that, hey, meet with them to get a sense, because I'm hearing things about Davison Avenue. So that was really the initial gist of the meeting.
So it was more futuristic.
Yes. There's nothing specific relative to the current project. In fact, we're dealing with that as the project.
It's too late for that.
The best example is, we responded to issues and challenges that were found on Rodney on Somerset by having an inspector, somebody from the water department there all the time, right? So, Bob, so besides that meeting, I actually did meet with Bob one-on-one, and again, Bob and I, because of our past relationship, we have a very good working relationship, and Bob committed to me that, we'll work through these issues as they come up, so that way, we ensure that projects are moving along and not getting stalled.
One of the goals out of this was, just to give a little background, also, besides making sure that Brian has a better working relationship and the authority as a whole with Scott, was that there were, with the development plans, to make sure that, since North Track is a huge focus with us, to make sure that if anything was being done to Davidson Avenue, let's say, which is in that region, they weren't planning on something that might put us at 150% capacity, that this way, if we had to start putting in infrastructure investment in that area or doing improvements, we handle it now versus in 5 years say, oh, we didn't plan this, and no, you can't build there.
And that was my reason for asking its future.
Right.
Yes.
It's more
initiative.
Yeah, it's to try to stay on pace so that we can make plans at the same time as they're making plans, and not, we don't want to be the pinch point. I'd rather be it somewhere else than the authority being a pinch point. We'll just keep handling what we handle. Oh, thank you.
All right, so now moving on, of note to talk about now is the resolution. So there are two resolutions, again, authorizing Richard Grubb and Associates for the Stage 1A and 1B Cultural Resource Survey, and then also a resolution to adopt the approved authority budget of 2018 to 2019. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, unless any commissioners have any questions for me, I am completed with my reports.
So just one other item I'll add for you is we did promise to help find you a financial advisor.
Yes.
I know the board, several of the commissioners have looked over the proposal from one firm. I did finally get a chance to make a couple of reference calls. The several people that I spoke to gave positive feedback about the firm. They've helped one town or one county they helped significantly with for many years. The other one they helped more with, like the capital and strategic planning over the past year or so. So overall, good feedback. So the next steps will be for legal to review, finalize a proposal from the firm, and then for legal to review anything, and then I guess it would come to us to approve if it's a certain threshold.
If there's a desire to enter into an agreement, then we need a resolution similar to what we're doing tonight with Grubb to authorize, and at that point we would draft the contract and go from there.
Okay. So I want to provide that feedback, and again, this is, I think, I know some of you had raised questions. I did follow up on the questions on what, and none of the reference calls did anything about investments as much, but it was more strategic planning and long-term. So I would ask that you think about it, and then we consider it for sometime in the near future and work from there.
Yeah, we'd like to have something for October if possible.
And this, and again, not to try to push, this would be, we can try it out. If we're getting the resources that we need, we can decide to continue from there, or we say, no, we're in good shape, and we do an analysis. But I think this will help us with the, again, I know you did a lot of work on the capital plan, so it'll just help the finances to go along with what your plan is like.
Yep.
So, if we want to draft something, and then we can further discuss at the next meeting.
Okay. Myself and April will have that ready for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Brian, may I add one thing? Just so we have this in the minutes. Simultaneously, as we are doing the regular authority independent audit, we also were responsible for doing a workers' compensation audit, which is totally separate. That audit was completed last week and all has been taken care of, so we're good with that. That's through the insurance company. They require it every year that we go through the audit. They look at payroll, overtime, different things like that. We did provide them everything they were asking for, and that is complete.
Thank you. As that was an item on my discussion, but I missed it. Thank you, April.
North Tract analysis, we're on here. working on that.
So again, as I mentioned last, we kind of put that on hold due to the fact our bookkeeper was out.
Okay.
So I will get that going again with the return of our bookkeeper.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for the executive director? All right, committee reports.
Operations.
What?
Operations.
Oh, sorry, Scott. I didn't mean to do that. Everything's running really well, right?
Scott is
Stand on
happy, he
the-
doesn't have to-
Enjoy.
Operations, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Highlight some issues here for the month of August. For the Grigstown pump station, we had a failure to our Allen Bradley touchscreen for the main control panel. That has since been replaced by a highlighted fight outside panel. Weston Canal pump station, the VFD number 2 has a blown board that operates the controller on the VFD number 2 for pump number 2. We contacted our emergency contractor, which is Municipal Maintenance Company, who has been in. They located the board. It's a 3 to 4 week lead time. But we're not dead in the water. We have the bypass mode on the VFD that if we should need to use that. So we're good. Under our order control, there were no order complaints for the month.
Even with the heat, huh?
Even with the heat.
Good.
So the products work. Under our developer-related issues, the crew's been out doing several types of inspections, as Brian had talked about, our own projects, as well as inspecting for the township's paving projects, any work related to the sanitary manholes, as well as some of the private developers for Leewood, 57 Ray Street, 56 Willow. Under our gravity sewer flushing program, the crew flushed and cleaned 37,811 feet of main sewer lines as part of our ongoing preventive maintenance program. All the flow that was, all the area that was flushed this month ultimately flowed through the North Crossing. We're about 76% of our overall goal. On the 17th of the month, our crew replaced the E1 grinder in Bridgetown at 113 Linden Avenue. The faulty unit has since been repaired and back in rotation. During the month, we repaired 2 broken manhole castings. One was on New Brunswick Road, the other was on Claremont Road near the new school, the new elementary school. The only thing remaining there is permanent blacktop. I think Brian has talked quite a bit about our own projects. Just to highlight on Somerset Street today, the crew working very well. They did 140 feet of 6-inch pipe today, which was rather well, considering all the services between gas and water that they had to contend with.
The temperature.
And the temperature. Under our complaints, crew responded to 2 homeowner complaints during the whole month for slow draining sewers. In both cases, they were on the homeowner's side of the service. Under safety, unfortunately, we have to report this month we had an injury to one of our employees who injured his left shoulder while opening a manhole lid. Pretty standard, pretty routine, something we do all day, every day. He has been since he was out on the 20th of the month and has been released on the 31st. So he'll be back to work starting Thursday. He since had a death in the family as well that he's doing some bereavement time. Under our connections, there were 0 connections for the month. Total to date is 13 and anticipated to date is 520.
You're gonna be cutting it close again this year. No half connections. That other half a connection hasn't come back.
We told him we're not going to take any of those anymore.
It always bothered me, I didn't know what that was.
Scott, everybody's been okay in the heat.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, it just, I'd like to point out, and this is to everybody, our staff here as a whole, that first off, I wish you didn't have to go through the active shooter training, but it's something that I thought was, because I sat there the first session, that I thought it was good for just in general to hear. So
Yeah.
I hope that everybody took something from it. The other thing that I want to say is, and I think Brian hit it pretty, and Scott has said, you guys have been dealing with a lot as a whole. You've got 3 capital improvement projects basically going on at the same time, plus operations. And I think operations is being maintained really well on top of the construction project. So I just want to say good job all around and thank you for your hard work. Trying to get a budget, trying to get everything. So thank you to everybody.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. Any questions for operations before I inadvertently skip from the camera? Okay. Now is it safe to do committee report? Negotiations and personnel. I don't think we had anything this one. Municipal liaison? Sorry.
I go out for 1 month. And you find it in absentia all the work, huh? Construction, municipal liaison.
That's what you get for missing that meeting.
I talked to the councilman present here, and he said that no issues, no concerns, right?
Just road construction going on, but it sounds like Scott's being kept in the loop of what's going on and of all the road paving stuff.
Yeah, we are, yep.
So it's
We're
good.
attending all the pre-cons and we're being notified when the work is happening, so it's been going rather well.
I think I saw there's going to be, I know Will is going to be under construction starting next week. So probably most of that area will be under. But it sounds like you've got good construction. Anything from where?
Nothing I know.
Okay. That's good news. Yep. All right, and safety. So the maintenance crew will be, or the gentleman will be back tomorrow, Thursday.
Thursday, yes, yeah.
And our bookkeeper's back, so she's feeling better.
Yes.
All right, so nothing else for safety. Good. Consent agenda?
Yes, this will be everything but the budget, I believe, unless there is the grub on
The
the...
resolution.
Two
for the-
additional.
Well, we had the 2, right?
All right, so actually,
the grubs.
grub I think is on this. Is grub in the packet? Approving, no, grub. Got a resolution
It is
for the
part of
payroll?
the
All right, so it's part of the...
So, consent agenda, all the items listed below are considered to be routine by nature, thereby requiring one motion and 1 second for all items. If any member wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda, please advise me at this time, which resolutions need to be handled separately and will be addressed and voted on separately.
So you have on the agenda, gentlemen, the payroll account, the operating expense fund account, the renewal and replacement account, and the authorization for the chair and the secretary to enter into an agreement with Richard Grubb and Associates as part of the Hamilton Street project.
Is grub part of consent or separate?
Yes, part of.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
I guess the first question would be, before we go there, were there any concerns with the consent agenda items? Or questions? So we have a motion and we have
Second, roll call.
roll call, please.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yes.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. Okay. Do I have to read anything for the budget besides just what's on the paper? Or do I have to read the budget?
Yeah, it's all budget. Basically, first of all, you closed the hearing, you had the introduction, so basically you've already waived the right, so basically I would read the resolution. You want me to read it, I'll read it.
I can read it.
Okay.
So adoption, just read it.
Right.
Okay. Whereas the local finance board has certified that the approved budget complies with the requirements of law and the rules and regulations of the local finance board. And whereas a public hearing was held on the budget September 4th, 2018, now therefore be and it is hereby resolved by the Township of Franklin Sewage Authority in the County of Somerset that the budget approved by the State of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Local Finance Board for fiscal year June 1st, 2018, ending May 31st, 2019, as attached hereto and made a part hereof, be and is hereby adopted. So is there a motion to accept the adopted budget? Or was I supposed to read the second page?
No,
No? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the budget? Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Jallo?
Yes.
Mr. Tuari?
Yeah.
And Chairman Galtieri?
Yes. All right.
Yay.
We have a budget. What are we ordering?
There's some cheese back here with some fruit and water
No, I mean.
and coffee.
I guess the question is, which of the big trucks are we ordering in this one?
Yeah, I'll have to meet with Scott. and we'll have
We
to-
made Scott's day today.
Yeah.
We'll have to scope out how to queue this up.
Okay. All right, there's no need for an executive session, correct?
4 hours at least.
There's no need for an executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
Do we have to do roll call or?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7:44.
Thank you.